Hey there, everyone. Here we are live with Leadership for Innovators Spotlight. Today, I'm so happy to have an amazing guest here. I'll bring her in a minute. But first, let me just share with you that we're bringing this live interview every other Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. You can definitely watch it afterwards. And here's the deal. This show is all about interaction. Even if you're watching afterwards, put here your comments, your questions. We'll go back to them, I promise. Your emojis, anything. Interact with us because this is a real lifetime and a real time experience. And this is your chance to have your questions answered, your voice heard. It's one of the topics we'll be discussing here, by the way. And yeah, let's get to our amazing guest today. Here she is. Welcome, Sharnelle Guthrie. Welcome here. I'm thrilled to meet you. I'm thrilled to learn more from you. So thank you for joining.
Thank you, Amelia. Thank you for having me. Thank you for finding my articles. Thank you for inviting me.
Definitely. Everyone will see here that you are a remarkable professional with a profound focus on leadership and a unique emphasis on introverted leadership, which is a topic we will be covering. And with over 5 years of experience in fraud operations, quality control, Sharnelle is dedicated to safeguarding trust and enhancing the customer experience in the companies she works with. Currently, she's serving as customer support quality control at Amplify, a leading provider of online learning materials for K-12 education, and Sharnelle's leadership skills shine. She plays a pivotal role in maintaining operational compliance with company policies, procedures, regulatory guidelines. We know how important this job is. And in her previous role as a fraud operations specialist at Twilio, Sharnelle showcased her leadership capabilities by investigating potential fraud incidents, enforcing mitigation plans, and effectively communicating results to stakeholders. So it's really such a pleasure, Sharnelle, to have you here. And before we kick things off, I like to ask on specific and interesting facts that we cannot find in your LinkedIn profile. And you were so kind to share with me that your hobby is taking nature photographs. Can you
Yes.
tell us more about that? That's so cool.
Well, thank you. For me, I think it started like when I was maybe a teenager. I just loved taking photos. At one point, I thought I was going to make music videos, but eventually I just found that being out in nature just made me feel like, I don't know, like I was just being part of the natural world. And I thought, well, maybe I should start capturing the things that I see. So yeah, there's a little worm.
So
Um,
cool. Look at your point of view. You have such a cool perception. It shows through your pictures. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing this with us. Where is this one? Where is this?
Oh, this is one of my favorite parks. It's in Kansas City, Missouri, and it's called the Anita B. Gorman Conservation Center. And it's almost like you're in a Disney movie or something every time I go to that park. So it's really cool.
That's really, really cool. Yeah. So thanks again for sharing your hobby with us. And
Thank you.
yeah, and I'm super curious to understand your point of view, not only in photography, but on leadership. So
Mhm.
can you please briefly describe your professional journey with us and how it led to your current leadership role and your leadership development too?
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a really good question. So for me, my leadership journey started when I was a kid. I was the oldest child of my dad's four kids. So I kind of had to like, help out around the house. I learned how to cook. I learned how to clean. I helped out my siblings with their homework. And over time, I think I just thought like, well, what else can I do? And so then in middle school, I joined this program. It was called United States Naval Sea Cadets, and it's kind of like ROTC, but you get to travel in the summer and you get to meet different members of the military to figure out like if that's what you want to do with your life. And so I advanced in that program. I reached like the highest rank that you could get. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll join the Marine Corps. So I joined the Marine Corps. I advanced to the rank of sergeant. I had like other Marines reporting to me. And I think that's kind of where I got like real experience with getting people to listen to what I have to say.
That's amazing.
Right. And then like after, I would say after the Marine Corps, the next time I got to really start working on my leadership was joining Twilio.
Mhm.
And
That's so cool.
mhm.
So cool. And when did the subject introverted leadership entered your journey? And please, I think before we go into that, can you tell us what is introverted leadership?
Well, I guess first we just need to understand the difference between introversion and extroversion. And really, it's just about how we obtain our energy. So, an extrovert is going to be someone who they get energy by interacting with other people.
Mm,
And an introvert is going to be someone who gets drained by a lot of conversations. They're going to be someone who needs to spend time with themselves more often, so that um, we can recharge and then come out in the world and show ourselves, kind of thing. And so I noticed when I was younger that there were times where I just really need to get away from other people, and so I was like, what's wrong with me? And when I started my personal development journey, that's when I realized, like, oh, I'm an introvert. That's why.
mm. Interesting. And so many of us feel that way, but we don't look for like this understanding.
Hmm.
And more than labeling yourself, I think it's more understanding yourself, understanding your
Exactly.
needs, right?
Because there's really nothing wrong with any of us in that way. It's just we all represent, a different spectrum of on
Mhm.
being a human, and so
Yeah.
it's better to just understand what those differences are, so that everyone can feel like they're accepted, I guess.
Yeah, and is it a thing feeling ambivalent? Like people must have listened to your describing extroverted and introverted people and think, oh, I'm in between. I'm
Mm,
kind of both. Is that a thing?
definitely. And sometimes I think maybe I might be, because there are times where I'm like, I have introverted friends and I talk more than they do. So I think an ambivert is going to be someone who doesn't need to recharge as often. Like they're a person
Mm,
who can have many conversations and not feel like, you know what, I need to spend a week by myself now. And that's something I noticed as a big difference in introverts, is like we get through our work week, and then at the end of the work week, it's like I could use the entire week by myself because I just need to recharge, kind of thing. And I
yeah.
think the ambivert is someone who's in the middle. And I feel like it's probably more difficult to be an ambivert because you're kind of like trying to figure out, how do I get my energy and how do I interact and still, maintain my own sense of self, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely can relate
Hmm.
to being like a little bit of both, and it's exactly that. You have to be in tune with yourself at all times
Yep.
to
Yep.
understand what is dragging your energy, what is actually bringing more out of you. So yeah, and Chanel, now that you described what is an introverted person and
Hmm.
how it relates to how you recharge, how energy flows,
Hmm.
um, how do you reconcile this? How do you match this with leadership characteristics, leadership development? And I posted yesterday that many of us buy into this myth that only extroverted people can be
Hmm.
leaders, but that's definitely not true.
Right.
So, how introverted people come as leaders, and how can they reconcile these sides and these needs that the leadership role has, and being an introvert
Hmm.
and playing the best of you, right, at
Yep.
all times.
So I think an introvert is going to have to be on their own side. And by that, I mean, an introvert has to accept that they only have a certain amount of energy in a day. And
Mhm.
so if you want to be a leader, then you have to schedule your day knowing that at certain points you're going to need to do something to refuel yourself. And I think if you can accept yourself and set up strategies for when there's time that you need to say, you know what, my energy's dipping, I need to make sure I'm bringing my full self to this meeting. So first, let me go and take a run, or let me read a book for 10 minutes, or just basically an introvert really has to know who they are, and they have to have a really strong sense of self and be able to accept that they may not have as much energy as other people when it comes to engaging, but there's a way you can turn that around. You can just figure out yourself and figure out what does give me energy. Okay, let me do that for a couple of minutes and then see where I'm at, kind of thing.
That's amazing. And there's a lot. All other leaders and ambivalent and extroverts can
Mhm,
learn from introverted leaders.
mhm.
What can we learn from introverted leaders?
Well, I think this is something that I've heard, and something that I've noticed in other introvert leaders that I come across. An introvert is going to have a strong sense of self. And I think sometimes, like my extrovert friends, sometimes they wonder, like, how can you be so sure? How can you seem like you're so aligned with what your thoughts and your emotions are? And I think it's just because an introvert has more time with with themselves to know, what gives us joy, what we don't like, what we want. And I think when you see an introvert who is a leader, you're seeing something in them, but what you're seeing is that strong connection to who they are on a deep level. And I think that's something that an introverted leader can teach others.
Wow, definitely. That's something that if we are in tune with ourselves, we win and everyone around us win.
Hmm.
I was talking to Sophie Vilpio last
Yep.
week just
Hmm.
about that. She was uh, touching on self care, how it is important to leaders right now. And
Hmm.
definitely, if that's a need for you to play a role in the world as introvert, know themselves that this is a need, and we definitely have a lot to learn from that. I also read that, and it shows in your photography, by the way, that introverts are known to have the ability to observe and pick up on subtle cues and clues that others might miss. Do you think that is also important on leadership?
Definitely. One trait that I think is really important, that an introvert is going to bring to the table, is someone who is an active listener, because we're not trying to vie for attention when it comes to speaking or speaking over other people. We're more so kind of like in the background, and we're listening, and we're paying attention to cues, and we're looking at body language. And a person may say something, but if their body language doesn't match as what they're saying, then we're looking at that too. So we're kind of like investigators on people, kind of thing.
Do you think, or is it too forward for me to assume that introverted leaders will be less prone to creating a toxic environment?
No, I don't. I think that that's not true. I
Okay.
think, I think regardless of if you're extrovert or an introvert, if you don't have self awareness, then I think that you're going to probably be a little toxic.
Okay. Either way. Okay.
Yes, because I think what makes a person toxic is poor emotional regulation. And so if you don't know
Mhm.
how to regulate your emotions, then you're bringing all of that to work, to your friendships, to your relationships, and you're expecting other people to kind of deal with that instead of first becoming aware of yourself and looking at those triggers within yourself and trying to heal yourself and then bringing your best self forward.
That's such a good description. Thank you for that. And how about creating a diverse environment? Do you think introvert leaders have more to offer on that by this in depth approach to
Mhm.
problem solving, searching for different details in the story, in work relationships, as you mentioned
Mhm.
before? Do you think creating a diverse environment is also always going in the mind of an introvert?
I think an introvert, yes, because I think an introvert's going to be looking at right fitting people for their roles. Like, okay,
Mm.
this person, I noticed that this person has a strength in critical thinking. So I'm going to put them on my data analysis team. So I think instead of maybe saying, okay, I like how this person is more so going to be less personal. And it's just going to be, Brad is good at this, so I'm going to put him here. And so, in a way, not only are we right fitting the person for that role, we're also trying to ensure there's going to be, happiness and balance on the team as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. You've written that many quiet people have strong self leadership,
Mhm.
which is one root of confidence. Can you explain a little bit more on that? Can you expand on that? On this quietness, self leadership, and the connection to confidence?
That's a good question. Let's see. So, I think confidence has a lot of roots because I see confidence as like, when I imagine confidence, I imagine it's like a tree within ourselves, and it has roots, and then our entire confidence is like a big oak tree. Um, and I think confidence is individual, but I have noticed that in introverts, if we are not if we don't have self leadership, if we don't know how to lead ourselves, even just in our daily lives, as far as like going to the grocery store or like keeping our homes in order, like if we don't have that leadership of being able to hold ourselves accountable, then it's going to be very difficult for us to be able to hold other people accountable. And so I
Mm.
think what makes things different for between introverts and extroverts is that an extrovert may be able to, because they're more social, they may be able to get people to hop on board. But because an introvert has the experience of leading themselves even when they don't want to do something, then they have that firsthand experience of reaching the individual. And I kind of forgot the last part of the question you said.
Yeah, the connection to confidence, but I think you described there where it comes from.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was thinking here, listening to your description, not only on introverted leaders, but introverts as a whole. I've worked with so many introverts throughout my career,
Mhm.
and they do amazing job, but they have a hard time showcasing their job,
Yes.
like
Hmm.
showcasing the results of their work. How can leaders help introvert individuals, introvert team members to get the glory that they are definitely allowed to receive attention and
Hmm.
to get the kudos for what they do good, but definitely not always they are into that. They don't want to go to the stage,
No,
right?
no, 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 no.
So how do you help them in that situation? Because they definitely in the world that we live in, unfortunately, if you don't showcase the results of your work, people hardly will see that, right?
That's
So
very
how
true.
to balance?
So for me, I notice, like I was saying before, I notice every contribution a person can make. I notice what they can bring to the table. And I also notice when people are not speaking up. And so for myself as a leader, I first practice curiosity, and I want to know everyone that I'm working with. And I want to know, okay, what talent that you have that you're still waiting to develop. And then I start noticing the person. And so in meetings, I might say, I noticed that Sarah normally has really good ideas about root cause analysis. Sarah, do you have anything to share today? And I think sometimes when you just open the door for a person, it makes them feel more comfortable, speaking up when normally they might see it as like they're attention seeking or something.
Definitely. And in group meetings, we can definitely create this balance and this dynamics and seek for that, right? Seek
Mhm.
to hear all of the voices in the room and not just a monochord, and which happens so often, unfortunately. But and that's fascinating. Thanks for sharing. Uh,
Mhm.
you don't have to name any names, but can you share any examples of specific challenges leaders you worked with, or
Mm.
leaders that you watched faced when they were applying these techniques, when they were trying to bring the best of introvert team members?
I can just tell you about a time where it backfired for me. So the tricky thing is sometimes a person may not be an introvert; they just may be shy. And
Okay.
so putting a person sometimes when you put a shy person forward, like try to help them, they may see it as being put on the spot. And so,
Definitely.
mhm,
I've done that before.
mhm, me
It
too.
doesn't look good
Yes.
afterwards.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I actually had a really good manager tell me once that sometimes you just have to accept where a person is at and help them in a different way. And I tried talking to this person and I was just like, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry I kind of put you on the spot, but I just saw that you have a lot to offer. And I just thought, that would be a good opportunity for you to speak up. But ultimately, shy or introvert, being able to say what your accomplishments are, that has to be tied to your why. Like, why do you want to be successful? Are you only just working just to get a paycheck, or do you want to move ahead? And if you want to move ahead and succeed, then you have to put aside the notion that's holding you back, that you shouldn't advocate for yourself, and you need to replace it with something that's more positive and think, even though this is uncomfortable for me, I am just going to say something to people about what I'm thinking, because this helps me, and it could help someone else too.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. If we're always agreeing every time,
Hmm.
where is the growth in that, right? I think, yeah, we definitely have to bring also the uncomfortable subjects,
Hmm.
name the elephants in the room, and
Yes.
and I think also congratulate or appreciate people who do that
Hmm.
often. Yeah, definitely. And Sharnelle, another question that I have for you in that regards, that as you were describing these practices, I was thinking of leadership frameworks that might be helpful, such as
Hmm.
the super famous 101s. So basic, but many leaders over time they think, oh no, it's okay. I can do that once a month and that's okay. But doing like regular 101s often with your teams, so many researchers show how impactful it is for engagement,
Hmm.
for helping people actually develop and feel like they are developing. So, what other leadership frameworks do you recur to when you're practicing with your team, developing your own team, or developing yourself?
I like coaching, because I think sometimes when a person just sees you as a leader and they don't see themselves that way, then it kind of
Mhm.
puts you on a pedestal when really we're all equals.
Mhm.
And I like to use coaching when I'm interacting with other people or when I'm building a team, because it kind of just removes those mind barriers where a person will then begin to feel like they can actually speak up and share their true self and not feel like they're intimidated because of a title or
Yeah.
a position.
Definitely, when you were describing the why, the search for the why, I remembered coaching and the grow framework, such an
Hmm.
old, but it's gold too.
Hmm.
This framework that's so useful to this day, where you not only help this team member or coach this team member into describing their goals, their possible obstacles, things
Hmm.
that they want to achieve and when and how, but it becomes like this guide for you to follow into everyone's development.
Yep.
You can definitely you hold yourself accountable when you're creating one of these, and when you share with someone, then definitely accountability everywhere and for everyone. So do you use one of these frameworks as well when you coach?
Um, you mean as far as like laissez-faire or authoritative, something like
Yeah.
that? Yes.
Yeah.
Because I would say my leadership style fluctuates between three. So it would be the coaching, it would be laissez-faire, and it would be authoritative. And I would say my baseline is probably going to be laissez-faire, because I trust people to do their jobs. And like, if it were me, I would not want to be micromanaged. But at the same
Mhm.
time, I use authoritative to hold people accountable.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And talking on introverted people, I think being micromanaged,
Hmm.
it may be counterproductive, right? A
Yeah,
real counterproductive.
I
If you
saw
feel
this.
watched, if you feel it just adds to stress, and it decreases your productivity.
Agree. I saw this quote. It might have been Steve Jobs. I'm not sure, but I saw it on LinkedIn earlier, where it said something like, "Why would you hire smart people and then think for them?" And I think that
Yeah,
is so impactful, and I think that that's so true. It's like if you're hiring someone, like you're assuming, like that's the best candidate, right? So let them do their job, kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah. Definitely, your job is to actually coordinate what they're doing with everyone else,
Hmm.
and create this, yeah, this environment where everyone can bring the best out of
Yeah.
themselves. And yeah, so true.
Mhm.
Well, Sharnelle, anything else you would like to add? Any final comments or suggestions for everybody listening and wanting to improve
Mm.
themselves, their introvert leaders?
Yes. So for introverts, I would say if you want to be a leader, I would say first ask yourself why, because a lot of introverts do not think that they're well suited for leadership, but I disagree with that. But I think for an introvert, you need to have a strong sense of why. And then on top of that, I think you need to know what your boundaries are and know how to set boundaries effectively. I have something else too. One more thing I wanted to share. Oh, this is really important. It's something I learned recently. We all kind of come to work or to our lives with certain values that we may have learned in our childhood, from our parents or for those that were close to us. And I would say if you want to be an effective leader, you should allow others to challenge your values, to know
Hmm.
if they're true, if they hold up. And
Hmm.
the only way to really know if your values hold up is how much passion you bring to defending them. If you
So
bring a lot
take
of passion.
risks.
Mhm.
Is that
Yes.
take risks? Oh,
Mhm.
that's interesting.
Yep.
That's interesting. Being an introvert doesn't mean you run away from risk then.
Nope. You
I
face it
like
head
that. I
on.
like that very much. Very much. And on the boundaries, I think we can open a whole other chapter,
Mhm.
another 30 minutes talking just about that. It was such a teaser. I'll definitely reach out to you so we can expand on the boundaries. And I
Yes.
think that is
Mhm.
useful for both extroverted and introverted people. Everyone needs to learn more about themselves and to learn how to set boundaries. So yeah, the work environment can go
Mhm.
better.
I agree
And
with
so
you.
yeah, so
Mhm.
Sharnelle, I'm immensely grateful for your generosity on sharing your knowledge, your experiences here with us. Your presence here definitely enhances our spotlight series. So before we wrap things up, I just wanted to give you the opportunity to invite everyone here for your upcoming projects, initiatives, and how people can get in touch with you.
Okay, so one of my projects that I'm working on I'm hoping that it's released on Christmas, but I'm working with a developer right now and I'm creating a empathy statements generator app. And I'm hoping that it can help customer service representatives, like when they're talking to customers, be able to copy and paste what the customer is saying and get a generated, empathetic statement back kind of thing. And I can be reached here on LinkedIn, or my email address is charnelle.guthrie@gmail.com. And that's pretty much it.
Oh, thanks so. Thanks for being so open. And that's so interesting, your new app, because our next spotlight is in January 10th, and we'll be featuring Shola Kay.
Ooh.
She's a true leadership dynamo, and she'll be sharing her findings on, guess what? Empathetic leadership. So
Whoa.
your
Okay.
app will definitely come up in this conversation.
Okay.
So, yeah, trust me, everyone here listening, you don't want to miss it. I'm looking forward to seeing you then. And thanks, everyone. Thanks again, Chanel.
Thank
So
you.
good to have you here. Bye bye. See you soon.
Bye.